There's a specific kind of panic that hits a man when he decides he wants to text a woman he ghosted. It's the moment his confidence quietly packs its bags, his common sense files for leave, and his brain starts replaying every message he didn't send like a highlight reel of bad decisions. And suddenly he's standing there, phone in hand, wondering how he became his own plot twist. Ghosting isn't usually intentional. It's more like emotional sleep mode. Life got loud, feelings got complicated, expectations felt heavier than they should have, and instead of communicating, the system froze. Then weeks went by, and opening that chat felt like trying to defuse a bomb with oven mitts. So the silence stretched and stretched and stretched. But here you are, wanting back in, which means you need finesse, timing, and the kind of self-awareness most men only discover after losing the thing they wanted. Sliding back in is possible, but only if you understand what actually happened, what she went through, and how to reappear without looking like a confused tourist walking into the wrong relationship airport. If you want your message to land, not flop, not embarrass you, and definitely not make her roll her eyes so hard she sees her own childhood, then this is the only guide you need. Ghosting usually starts long before the silence. It begins the moment a man feels something he wasn't prepared to manage. Attraction mixed with pressure, interest mixed with uncertainty, excitement mixed with the quiet dread of, what if I mess this up? And instead of sorting through any of that, his mind chooses the most convenient escape route: disappear and pretend nothing happened. It's not elegant, but the male nervous system has never been famous for elegance. For a lot of men, emotional intensity feels like a pop-up ad they don't remember subscribing to. Things are going well, she's responding quickly, she's showing interest, and that should be great. But then expectations start forming in the background. That's when anxiety grabs the wheel, ego locks the doors, and the instinct to avoid discomfort starts whispering sweet nonsense like, reply later, which eventually turns into, well, it's been 2 weeks, so maybe never. Sometimes it's fear of disappointing her. Sometimes it's fear of looking too eager. Sometimes he's juggling work stress, burnout, financial pressure, or just feeling like he's not the version of himself he wants her to see. Men disappear when they think they're underprepared, underperforming, or emotionally understaffed. Not ideal, but extremely common. There's also the classic habit of emotional procrastination. It's the moment a man opens her message, feels the weight of actually having to think about his response, and decides he'll handle it after lunch. Except after lunch becomes after the weekend. And after the weekend becomes, somehow, the next presidential election. The truth is simple. Ghosting is rarely about her. It's about the internal chaos you didn't want to admit was happening. Understanding this matters because sliding back in requires clarity. If you don't know why you vanished, you'll repeat the same disappearing act the moment things get real again. And nothing destroys credibility faster than a man who reappears with enthusiasm but still ghosts like it's a part-time job. While you were busy avoiding your own emotions like they were subscription fees, her mind wasn't just sitting around waiting for your grand return. Women don't operate on, maybe he'll text eventually. They operate on patterns, consistency, and the tiny behavioral details men think go unnoticed. The moment you vanished, her brain started running diagnostics: interest level, reliability, emotional maturity, long-term potential, and whether she just dodged a walking contradiction with Wi-Fi. At first, she might have felt a little confused. The conversation was flowing. The vibe was good. And then, suddenly, your presence evaporated like you were part of a limited-time offer. Confusion quickly shifts into analysis. Not the dramatic kind, just the basic mental math every woman does. If he wanted to talk, he would. That one sentence rewrites her entire perception of you. After that comes emotional recalibration. She starts adjusting her expectations, reducing her investment, and mentally stepping back. Women rarely fall apart over ghosting. They just reorganize their priorities. Her energy begins redirecting toward people who actually show up. And with every day you stayed silent, your relevance quietly shrank. Harsh? Maybe. Accurate? Completely. Then there's the trust battery, and yours drained faster than a phone running on 2% with no charger in sight. When a man disappears, It signals inconsistency. That inconsistency triggers her protective instincts, which push her toward emotional distance. It's not revenge, it's self-preservation. But here's the part most men forget. Her reaction depends heavily on her attachment style. A secure woman simply moves on and opens the door to someone new. An anxious one might assume she misread everything and question her intuition. And an avoidant woman? She treats your silence like a gift from the universe and continues her day. By the time you return, you're walking into a landscape that's changed. She might miss you. She might not care anymore. She might be cautious, irritated, or genuinely indifferent. But what she definitely isn't is the same woman you left unseen. The only right way to reappear. Sliding back in after ghosting her is not an improvisation sport. There's one correct approach, and it does not involve pretending you were trapped under a fallen bookshelf for 3 weeks. The goal is simple. Acknowledge the gap, keep it clean, and avoid turning your message into a confession letter from a man who just discovered feelings yesterday. Your opening line needs to be short, grounded, and unapologetically normal. Not dramatic, not poetic, not defensive. Something that shows emotional clarity without oversharing. Men mess this up by coming in too heavy or too casual. One guy sends a paragraph explaining his spiritual burnout. Another sends, "Hey, stranger," like he didn't create the stranger situation himself. Both approaches sound like they were drafted by a committee of confused emotions. You need a balance. Accountability without groveling, honesty without dumping, confidence without delusion, and most importantly, a tone that signals you're not here to repeat the same disappearing act. A clean opener sounds like someone who respects his own time and hers. What works is directness. Not the kind that tries to win sympathy, the kind that shows self-awareness. A simple acknowledgement of the silence, a brief explanation if needed, and a calm re-entry. And no, she doesn't need the full documentary of your life since you vanished. She just needs enough context to understand you didn't disappear because of her. Timing matters too. Don't send this at midnight when loneliness feels louder. Don't send it at 6 a.m. like you drafted it during a crisis workout session. Message her when your mind is steady, not when your ego is begging for comfort. And please avoid anything that tries to erase the past. Acting like nothing happened is psychological slapstick. It makes you look detached from reality. It also forces her to pretend the silence didn't matter, which never works in your favor. There's only one mission here. Re-enter her world with clarity, respect, and zero theatrics. The moment you do that, you give her room to decide how she feels, instead of forcing her to dodge excuses she never asked for. How to handle her reaction. Once you send that message, you've officially given up control of the situation. And this is where a lot of men panic. They start refreshing the chat like it's a stock they invested their whole personality into. But her reaction isn't a referendum on your worth. It's simply the result of the emotional math she did while you were gone. So you need to be prepared for any outcome without letting your ego stage a meltdown. If she answers with a short, dry message, don't spiral. That's not rejection, that's caution. It's her way of checking whether you're consistent or if she's talking to a man who might vanish the moment he gets overwhelmed again. Treat it as a test of emotional steadiness, not a punishment. Staying calm makes you look grounded. Getting defensive makes you look exactly like someone she shouldn't trust. If she responds playfully, good. It means she's open, but she hasn't forgotten the silence. Women can be warm and skeptical simultaneously. Welcome to reality. Don't rush in like you just got promoted to boyfriend potential. Keep the tone balanced. Light interest, steady presence. If she replies with annoyance, that's still not a loss. Annoyance is emotional engagement. It means you mattered enough for her to feel something. This is where men often sabotage themselves by over-apologizing until they sound like they're reading scripted lines from a regret hotline. One clean acknowledgement is enough. Anything more makes you look desperate, not sincere. If she seems indifferent, that's the hardest one. Indifference is emotional distance, but it's not irreversible. It just means you're no longer a priority. The only way back is steady consistency, not pressure. Don't try to force enthusiasm out of her. That always backfires because it turns a normal conversation into a responsibility she never asked for. Your job is simple. Keep your responses calm, controlled, and genuinely respectful. Don't chase, don't interrogate, don't lecture her about communication standards when you're the one who disappeared. Emotional composure is your strongest leverage here. Every reaction she gives you is data, and your response determines whether she relaxes or shuts the door completely. What to do if she rejects you? Rejection after ghosting isn't a plot twist. It's a possibility you have to walk into like an adult with emotional shoes on. A lot of men treat rejection as an insult, something that bruises the ego and triggers a scramble to win her back immediately. But that reaction only confirms her suspicion that your emotional stability is still held together with duct tape. If she says she's not interested anymore, don't negotiate. Don't try to convince her she misunderstood your silence. Don't drop a paragraph explaining your personal evolution since you disappeared. And definitely don't pull the "I respect your decision, but" text that always ends with a request she already denied. Respecting her boundary means actually stopping, not stopping with conditions. Her rejection isn't a personal attack. It's her protecting her energy from someone who already proved he can vanish without warning. You may have good intentions now, but she's not obligated to gamble on updated software from a device that previously shut down mid-conversation. That's not cruelty. That's emotional risk management. The stoic response is simple. Acknowledge her decision, keep it short, and step back gracefully. Not the mysterious disappearing act you did before, but an intentional, self-controlled exit. This shows emotional discipline, something far more attractive than pleading ever will be. A clean exit also protects your long-term reputation. It tells her you're capable of respecting boundaries, even when they don't favor you. Ironically, men who handle rejection with composure leave a better impression than those who beg for reconsideration. And that impression sometimes shifts her perspective later because self-respect is louder than emotional scrambling. You're not entitled to a second chance just because you want one. And sometimes the consequences of disappearing are exactly what push you to become more disciplined in future connections. Rejection isn't the end of your story. It's feedback about timing, behavior, and growth. Take it seriously, but don't take it personally. If she closes the door, walk away with dignity. You'll look like a man who can handle reality without folding. And that alone puts you miles ahead of who you were when you ghosted her. How to rebuild connection without looking desperate. If she gives you another chance at conversation, you're not back in. You're simply back on the sidewalk outside the building. Getting inside again requires patience, emotional discipline, and the ability to communicate without acting like you're trying to earn a loyalty badge. This is where a lot of men go wrong. They overcorrect, overshare, or overwhelm, thinking enthusiasm will fix what consistency needs to repair. Your goal now is to create micro-momentum, small, steady interactions that rebuild familiarity without forcing intimacy. Keep your tone grounded, not overly excited, not robotic, and definitely not super available. Being too available after ghosting feels like you're bargaining with your own dignity, and that never reads well. Ask questions that show you're present, not questions that demand emotional labor from her. Focus on curiosity, not intensity. Light flirting is fine, but keep it subtle enough that she doesn't feel like you're trying to sprint past the part where trust needs rebuilding. Trust is rebuilt through pacing, not passion. Consistency is your strongest signal. Not daily overwhelm, but predictable presence. Show up in conversation when you can actually engage. Not at random hours when boredom is pretending to be emotional effort. Women don't fall for frequency, they fall for reliability. You also need to show emotional bandwidth. This doesn't mean dumping your entire thought process into her messages. It means responding with clarity, handling minor tension without spiraling, and maintaining a tone that shows you're not operating from insecurity. Desperation has a smell, and the moment she senses it, the dynamic flips and your chances drop. The key is subtle strength, steady communication, firm boundaries with yourself, and no chasing. Chasing signals fear. Steadiness signals maturity. Rebuilding connection isn't about performing a new version of yourself. It's about demonstrating the version you should have been from the start. When your actions align with emotional stability, she relaxes. When she relaxes, the conversation flows again. When the conversation flows, the connection rebuilds naturally. Your job is to keep the pressure low and the presence consistent. Anything more looks like compensation. Anything less looks like you're not serious. The middle ground is where trust grows. Sliding back in after ghosting her isn't about luck. It's about clarity, accountability, and emotional steadiness. You disappear because something inside you short-circuited. You return when you finally understand what you're offering and how to show up without chaos leading the conversation. If you re-enter with honesty, handle her reaction without ego, and rebuild the connection with calm consistency, you give the situation its best chance of surviving round 2. Every man messes up. What separates you from the rest is how you fix it. Drop your experiences in the comments. I go through them, and you might get a personal reply. And make sure you like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss the next breakdown. Trust me, the next one is going to sting in a useful way.